What's the most overrated life hack everyone swears by, but actually makes life more complicated? Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to the Vancher channel. Also, please share your thoughts on this video in the comments. Let's get started. Story 1. IDK if this qualifies, but I keep seeing spam videos of people taking seawater and boiling it for free salt. You can literally get a thing of Morton salt for like $1.50. Story 2. Those YouTube videos of an amazing quick meal with 2 simple ingredients that take 12 more ingredients, 4 different kitchen appliances, and half an hour to produce something that looks like fried vomit. Story 3. Hacks that save $1 or $2 but take a lot of time to execute. You may as well just work another hour in a job. Answer. Like budgeting websites suggesting you make your own clothes and grow a garden, you save money. I sew, and I used to garden. Both can potentially save money once you're established, but that's a big if. Both have a steep learning curve with a very high initial chance of failure. It's likely you'll put a lot of time and money in and get nothing that's actually usable. Sewing has some high startup costs. For gardening, you won't know the costs until you actually start and learn what's wrong with wherever you're trying to garden. Learning to cook lentils and thrift are better ways to save money on your food and clothes. Story 4. When people post about making their own clothes washing detergent, just buy these 4 products: a bucket and mixer for a drill, etc. Grate these soap bars, mix with these powders, cook in a pot with water, then add to the bucket with more water. Then mix with more water to 5 gallons, and end up with 5 gallons of terrible detergent that will gunk up your clothes, break your washer, and probably give you rashes since your clothes are full of that stuff. Just buy a good detergent on sale for about $8 and use 1 to 2 tablespoons per load, and you'll get clean clothes and a long-lasting washer. The largest jug of detergent will get you like 200 loads when you use the correct amounts, not what they recommend on the bottle. Answer. Heck, find out if the detergent is sold in industrial quantities, possibly under another brand name, and order a tub of that once a year for $13, the cost of buying it in brightly colored, ad-slathered, handheld containers on supermarket shelves. There are a lot of places out there which sell to hospitals, restaurants, hotels, and the like. Get a drawer full of cutlery for the price of a department store knife and fork. Get a cupboard full of commercial quality drinking glasses for the cost of a 4-pack off the shelf. Get a dozen fluffy bath towels for the cost of 2 at your shopping center. Story 5. AI in the workflow, just so your company can say they rolled out AI and integrated it into their workflow, but it interrupts workflow. Answer. I work in audit, and we have new rolled out AI tool that analyzes a specific account. Previously, we'd sample transactions from AGL, get supporting docs, and then I'd get an offshore team member to tick it all in, probably a day or 2 work, and offshore rates way lower than mine. Now with TWAI tool, basically have a separate analytics team member do the back-end uploading. Gives me a dashboard. I've got to interpret the results, then still do additional testing over what the tool spit out. Fill out a multi-tab spreadsheet. Overall, it takes roughly the same amount of time, but with a higher billing rate as offshore team would mess it up and not experienced enough to perform all this additional work. Story 6. Intense couponing. The average person is spending more driving to all the different stores than they are saving. Plus, all the hours spent clipping, organizing, planning could be spent on other things. And I say this as someone who did intense couponing for 2 years. Answer. To be fair, that era has gone away. There's a reason why extreme couponing, the show, only lasted for maybe 2 seasons. The stores and manufacturers figured out real quickly that they were losing money. My recommendation for coupon ingredients is to know your actual budget, know how to cook, and to just use one of the websites that hunts for you. There are a lot of free websites that start all the coupons out for you. Sticking to a budget will save you more money than any coupon will. And knowing how to cook will save you from purchasing items that you don't need to waste expense on or don't know how to use. I don't have to be a master chef. Basic meals are all you need. A lot of people blame rising food costs for the reason why they go out to eat all the time. You also have to learn to be comfortable with eating the same food a few times a week. You cannot eat a breakfast burrito, pad thai for lunch, and steak for dinner with French pastry for dessert. There's a reason why restaurants stick to one specific cuisine, or they just sell you food that they can buy pre-cooked to serve to you. I recommend all of the internet for various services of how to just cook. And I specifically recommend Good Eats. Found this a real good job, not just teaching recipes, but he is by that recipe works that way, so you're able to apply it to you. Others so you know why dough rises the way it does, or why you need to use the creaming method over the muffin method, as well as teaching basic cooking skills like how to properly measure for weigh ingredients and knife skills. You don't have to spend any more money when you pay for food to cook. It's on unless you're starting from scratch. You don't need the fanciest. You don't need a KitchenAid stand mixer. You just need a basic set of tools. Story 7. Any hack that involves mixing vinegar and baking soda to clean better. The bubbles do nothing, the carbon dioxide does nothing, and the sodium acetate you make also does nothing. Answer: it actually does seem to help with unclogging drains. The way it was explained to me is the fizzing helps loosen up the gunk a bit. Spent 2 days trying to unclog my shower a few years ago and nothing was working. I didn't think baking soda and vinegar would do anything. My mom finally convinced me to, and it worked immediately. Baking soda and vinegar hot water got everything moving. Story 8. Almost all productivity apps. They take more time to set up and maintain than they will ever save. Story 9. Most tips on how to prepare food in a slightly less efficient way. Remove a mango rind easily. All you need is a knife, spoon, glass, plate, a colander, your firstborn child, and 3 blind mice. My dude, mangoes and avocados are soft fruits. You can just scoop them out with a spoon. Story 10. All those 2-3 ingredients recipes in Instagram reels that promise things like apple and milk bread, but then go on to say, now add 2 cups of dates, a spoonful of tahini, some nutritional yeast and nigella seeds, or a similar list of things that invariably is 1. Way longer than the promised 2 ingredients, and 2. Bound to include at least 1 exotic thing that you don't have at home. Answer: I saw some guy on Instagram who does a lot of reviews of hack recipes online do one where it was something like 3 ingredient brownies. I don't remember what it was or what the ingredients were exactly, but it was something along the lines of chocolate, peanut butter, bananas, salt, flour, butter, and oil. And the guy making the review was mocking all the people who were saying, that's way more than 3 ingredients, because everyone should have salt, flour, and butter at home already. And all the comments were agreeing with him about how dumb the haters were because those are super common ingredients. Like common ingredient or not, that's still more than 3 ingredients, which is what you were claiming your brownies were. And having it already inside your house doesn't mean it's not still an ingredient. Story 11. People that will drive across town, or really any distance at all, to save a nickel on a gallon of gas. This one drives me crazy. It's like, even if you have a 20-gallon gas tank, most are 12, it's still only $1. You're going to use that up in the travel time to and back. Please stop telling me you're saving all this money. It's absolutely nonsense. Story 12. Unplugging all your normally always-on appliances, then plugging them back in to use them. Then repeat, all to save 75 cents worth of power in a year. Story 13. That way they fold fitted sheets. It's just as easy for me to ball them up and toss them in the closet. Story 14. Internet has told me that I've been opening juice boxes and milk cartons wrong all our life. I feel like I'll continue with the old ways. They may be wrong, but it's how everyone I know does it and has served us all right. Story 15. Email notifications. The constant email checking is excessive. The world won't fall if you batch check your emails. Story 16. Kitchen gadgets. Nearly all of problems they solve could be done just as easy with a quality sharpened knife. Answer: many of those single-use products are meant for disabled people. So someone who can't use a knife due to mobility or joint issues can still cut their own apple if they have an apple cutter that requires only pushing down and no knives. These gadgets are sold to able-bodied people as well, because if they were manufactured and only sold to disabled people, the price would go up, and the gadget would then be inaccessible for disabled people on disability checks. Story 17. Putting everything in your pantry into jars. Yes, it looks nice, but it's not practical. It usually takes up more space, especially when running low, but also usually isn't big enough to handle a refill before you've completely run out. You lose all your use-by dates. You don't have a reference for which brand you bought last time in case you want to buy similar again, or different. They break if dropped. Answer: we had a bad moth infestation, so we swapped to containers, but not jars because those are not practical, as in I can't stack them easily. I found some really good ones with easy access lid and various sizes that can still be stacked and are sealed. If I need the date brand, I cut it from the box bag and put it inside, or the instructions because I always forget how to cook my bulgur and lentils. Story 18. Basically anything pumped out by 5-minute crafts, which is literally just engagement rage bait anyway. Story 19. You have to forgive others that wrong you to heal. Nope, you need to only forgive yourself for not seeing through them. Answer: I absolutely dislike that one. If forgiveness is for yourself, why are the people who did wrong begging to be forgiven? And the people who say, forgive them for your own healing, are always so smug and superior about it. Like, congrats on reaching a level of peace where you're okay with being treated like shoot. That doesn't make you a better person than me. Story 20. Check in all the time culture. It doesn't build connection, it builds burnout. If you want to connect, show up. Story 21. Life hacks in general. They're all about implementing protocols all day long that consume your mind, time, and sanity. Story 22. Anyone who says, if you're always the one reaching out, you don't have real friends. It's a great way to end up making everyone lonelier. Answer: the thing with this is that people all have different takes on this. Like one of the comments below that says they have social anxiety and have trouble reaching out. Okay, point take. But I have anxiety too. And in my case, with social stuff specifically, it manifests in my worrying that people don't like me or find me too boring to bother wanting to hang out with. So if I'm the only person constantly doing everything to maintain the friendship, after a while I start thinking, this person doesn't really care about me and doesn't want me in their life. And if it's a friend, I just stop contacting them and let the friendship die. I have a few family members that do the same shoot to me, my dad and my sister. But in both cases, they insist they want to see me. My dad's girlfriend actually likes to guilt me every time I go visit about how my dad is constantly saying he wishes he would see his daughters, me and my sister, more frequently. But again, he doesn't do anything about it. He never calls, never texts, never asks me to make plans, which is fine. But after being the only one that was reaching out for years and years, I got tired of it. So now I make sure to call him on his birthday and Father's Day. I wish him Merry Christmas, and I try to go out and see him 1-2 times a year. If he wants more, then he'll have to be the one that reaches out and asks me to do something. So far, he hasn't. My sister has been doing the same thing to me since she's had kids. And because I want to have a good relationship with my nibblings, I am currently putting in the effort to go see them regularly. But I warn my sister that once the kids are old enough to have their own phones and their own separate relationship with me that doesn't need to be facilitated by my sister, she'll be receiving the same treatment as my dad, i.e., unless she also occasionally makes the effort to reach out to me to do stuff. She'll get a call on her birthday, happy holiday wishes, and the occasional visits that I'll initiate, but she won't see me nearly as frequently as she currently is, unless she shows me she wants that. And in their case, I know they don't have social anxiety, because they're constantly reaching out to other family members or friends. My dad is always telling me about how he did this or that with one of my aunts or cousins. Same with my sister. She and my BIL have friends and family over constantly, which again, to my anxious mind, translates to, they like being social, just not with me. So why would I continue putting in all the effort? Story 23. People who go all over looking for the cheapest fuel station, and then they queue for 35 minutes idling to get fuel and cause traffic congestion because they are all stupid. Congrats! The 4 you might have saved has now been partied too hard via idling for 35 bloody minutes, you mong. Story 24. Drinking a gallon of water a day. Having to find a restroom every hour definitely complicates things. Story 25. Quoting and following the wisdom of guru influencers. Sadhguru, Jay Shetty, Mel Robbins, Let Them, dating coaches Evan Mark Katz and Matthew Hussey. They are not bad, just not good either. Only good at business and PR at topping YouTube algorithms. Story 26. Not sure if it's a life hack, but people have suggested I journal. No thank you, I prefer to write my thoughts into the void of the internet. Thank you very much. Story 27. Making a business out of your hobbies. There is a reason why they've been 2 separate things since the birth of free time. Story 28. Every single egg peeling techniques I've seen on the internet. It triggers me how people just complicate their lives over this. Using a box full of water and shake it with the egg inside. Y'all love to clean dishes. Rolling the egg to crack the shell in hundreds of little pieces. This has to be the most horrible way to do it. Just effing tap it on the table on the bottom side. Peel one way to the top in a straight line. And boom, the rest will come in one single big chink or two. And it takes 5 seconds. God, every time I see someone take so much efforts over this infuriates me. Mylan. Answer: okay, and I understand the irony of adding a life hack to a thread on useless life hacks, but my answer for this, and I eat a lot of eggs on my diet, is to cook them in an Instant Pot with the little egg holders they provide. That sounds like more work, but it is actually just as faster, and for some reason, they then peel easily with no special tricks. My theory is maybe because they are stationary while they cook, so an air bubble forms at the top and breaks up the suction between the egg and the outer membrane. But I have no idea if that's right. To be clear, I'm not advocating buying an Instant Pot just for this. See Kitchen Gadgets comments above. But if you have one, this is the thing I cook most in it. Story 29. Shopping for gas station prices. Unless it's more significant, even a 10-cent difference will only save you $1.50, $2 or less if you have to drive far to get there. There are exceptions such as downtown large cities or gas stations right off exit ramps, which tend to be higher. But around town, just go to what's closest. Story 30. Food prep. Like, I'm not against planning my meals in advance and eating less takeout, but don't bullshit me and say that making 5 nights of dinner all at once is more convenient. It's at best neutral convenience because of prep time, and at worst results in drier, weirder tasting food by nights 4 and 5 from just sitting in Tupperware for a week. Answer: a week's worth of meal prep can involve less work when done all at once. You generally use fewer utensil spots. You only need to block out 1 chunk of time a week instead of 7, and it makes using larger appliances like slow cookers more efficient and need less cleaning. If your food is starting to taste weird after a few days, cook stuff which is easily frozen, or do 2 cook nights a week instead of 7. Story 31. Common ADHD hack I see is brush your teeth in the shower. Like, where are you putting your toothbrush so it's not getting soap on it? Just feels unsanitary. I get the idea behind it, but not the application. Edit, because some people are misunderstanding. I'm not saying people with ADHD do this. I'm saying it's a hack suggested a lot in the ADHD subreddits to help people who forget to brush their teeth. Answer: I do that. I just bring my toothbrush to the shower with me and leave it on a high shelf we have in our shower where water doesn't come in contact with it because I don't use the wall shower head. After I shower, I just put my toothbrush back on top of the sink so it doesn't sit in the shelf getting all wet by the person who does use the wall shower head. Story 32. The 5 a.m. Club. Waking up exhausted to journal while chugging celery juice just makes you a sleep-deprived bunny with trust issues. Story 33. Pomodoro technique. Everyone loves it online, but I find switching tasks every 25 minutes more distracting than helpful. Story 34. I'm not sure about the rest of the world, but in academia, looking for programming or apps to handle anything. Whenever I need to randomize orders, a task that happens more often than you'd think. For example, I shake a box of papers with number on them and pull out the first number, the second number, and so on. I keep a stack of numbered bit of cardboard for just that purpose. Paper calendars are a lot faster, in most cases, than scheduling software. I love using computers, but they're darn inefficient for a lot of things. In the real world, cash is a lot faster than electronic payment in most cases, where I live, and it doesn't need batteries and cannot be traced. I'm not targeted with ads if I spend $100 on a drink. Story 35. Time blocking. Unless you're responsible for absolutely nothing and no one except yourself, you'll experience regular disruptions that'll mess up your carefully planned schedule and make you feel constantly behind. Answer: yes. My industry is one rife with all the efficiency hacks. I attended a training session when one of the high-achieving bros came to talk about his morning daily routine. His day started at 5 a.m. with gym, journal, coffee, shower, read emails, clock in for work, dinner, wrap up workday, plan for tomorrow's workday, take kid to hockey, go to bed. I was like, aces. So you have a wife and kids and they collectively get 1 hour of your time a day. Sounds like a recipe for success. There were a bunch of people in my company who jumped on this and had great business success. Wouldn't you know, 2 years later, most of them were divorced. Human relationships do not thrive under the efficiency model. No one wants to wait 6 days for date night to get your spouse's undivided attention. Story 36. Using a scrub daddy. Everyone says it's a life-changing, but for under 5, a normal washing up sponge is better. Can get a pack of 8 for about 2. Answer: I'll die on the hill that scrub daddy is worth having. Its material lasts longer than cheap sponges, and it definitely looks like it stays more hygienic for longer too. I'm not sold in the face design, using the cutouts for cutlery and such things, but as a 5 sponge, I think it's great. If recommend a scrub mommy over a daddy though, it's got that abrasive material on the reverse side. Story 37. Using different credit cards for points for most people. Most are only very lucrative for things like restaurants or travel. And if you're spending a massive amount on those things, you likely don't need the cash back. Redeeming points rather than cash back gets super complicated. There's just no way that keeping track of what to buy with each of your 7 credit cards is worth the increase in yield. Furthermore, the promise of rewards generates a subconscious desire to spend more. Buying something you don't need for the few back is not frugal. Story 38. Gyms. Paying overpriced fees when you can just do it all yourself, like going running, walking, buy weights, etc., and do it all at home for free. Story 39. To-do lists and GTD apps. All of them. People spend 10 millions filling in categories and whatnot if their stupid little app and it's like, just scribble down you need milk and eggs and lettuce. We made the simplest, dumbest, shoot so darn overly complicated because someone has to get 3 from you every month. There are also thousands of them. Story 40. Appropriate one given the season. Several years ago, I read about the life hack of mowing your yard instead of raking leaves. It was supposed to mulch and provide nutrients to the grass and save me the backache of hours of manual labor. After the snow melted in the spring, I realized that just trapped a layer of fungus and destroyed patches of my yard. Story 41. Photographing everything or taking video of every moment with your cell phone to remember it later, instead of living that moment fully at that moment. Answer: 100 disagree. I have a terrible memory. I have a condition that comes with brain fog. Plus, I've enjoyed photography. When I was younger, it was one of my passions. I learned how to develop my own film using the equipment at my high school, but the expensive equipment and life got in the way. Now I can take amazing photos without hauling 10,000 worth of equipment with me. I spent decades where I couldn't afford film or developing. Whole years of my life where all I have to jog my memory are 24 photos, spread out over 4 kids' birthdays and Christmas. And I was either taking the photos or had my eyes closed or had red eye. Nowadays, I go over my photos often. I love them. I make collections of different subjects or vacations. I have my favorites printed and put on my wall. When I look at my photos, it brings back moments I forgot I experienced. Are there tons of videos of the Disney World fireworks? Sure are, but none of the others are the night that I watched them with my sister and daughter, from our vantage point, with our voices in the background. When I rewatch that video, it takes me back to that moment in time and how good I felt at that moment. I recently got to go to the Titanic Museum in Belfast. It was a lifelong dream. I took photos everywhere. Now that I'm home, I spend time appreciating each photo. I read and reread the plaques. I enlarge the photos to see details I couldn't take in at the moment. Poring over those photos gives me a joy that looking at the same photos in a glossy book just doesn't give me. By the way, I know that I'm getting old, and my brain and memory aren't all that, but I'm not so far gone that I can't manage both enjoying a moment and recording it at the same time. I am in the moment, I'm enjoying the moment, and I'm recording the moment. My mom died in 1977. I really wish that my family had spent less time living in the moment and a little more time recording the moments. Memories fade when photos stay vibrant. Story 42. Extreme minimalism. Owning only 30 items or counting your shirts sounds more liberating than it really is. Story 43. Over-the-top coffee-making nonsense. I need my coffee stat. I don't want my cup of coffee to take longer than making my dinner. Come on. Story 44. I don't know if it's the quote-unquote most overrated, but for me it was shaving cream. I was using an expensive shaving cream, but when I retired I began to look for things to save money on. I thought that shaving cream was probably cheap to make, so I looked at a couple of videos and websites. It might be cheaper, but who has mango butter, coconut oil, Castile soap, and jojoba oil laying around? Then once you cook it, whip it with a blender and put it in a jar. You have to be careful to not get water in it or scoop it out of the jar with your fingers. Otherwise, you might get harmful bacteria growing in it. So I just switched to Barbasol. It works fine. Story 45. Apps to organize your life, or even worse apps that lock you out of your phone to stop using your phone. Story 46. Cooking for one person. I don't know about other parts of the world, but here in Southeast Asia, food are abundant and cheap, and so many variants of it. Spend hours time to cook at home, just not worth it. Story 47. Using tech for so many of the things we already have or had ways to take care of. My life has definitely not been made easier by a lot of tech things. Story 48. Most people don't put a price on their time. Even when they are doing things for themselves, they assume it's saving them money. My hourly for myself is $50. Story 49. Saving change or putting money into envelopes. Put your money in the bank where it's safe from loss, fire, theft, and where it's earning interest. Story 50. Believing the savings is real when you see creative marketing of now 40 more or same effectiveness as 12 rolls. You have to calculate the per unit price. Often you don't save anything. Story 51. Pretending like your time is worthless, whatever it is. If you take extra time to do a task to save a few bucks, do the math. Odds are you would use less time at work making up those few bucks. Time is literally the most valuable thing any of us ever have, and no amount of money will ever buy you another second, and you can't take money with you. So yeah, I'ma hire a maid, buy the store brand detergent, ignore coupons, have my groceries delivered. It's $10 and saves me like an hour. Come on, people. I'm not gonna fold my clothes except the nice ones that go on hanger anyways, and I'm not doing some asinine DIY shoot. Think of your time as just another currency. You trade it for money at your job. It's up to you if you think your time is worth it. If you are doing an activity, imagine how much you make per hour at work. Is this activity netting you more or less than that? Are you enjoying it enough that it's worth an hour or whatever if work? Food for thought. Story 52. Saving money by thrifting. I love thrifting clothes, and it will always be better for the environment. But the money I've wasted on things that almost fit is ridiculous. I've definitely spent more money buying good quality secondhand clothing than if I were to just buy the thing I want, new. Story 53. Making your oven, yogurt, which is labor intensive and takes 2 days. You can buy a quart of yogurt for like $5. Story 54. Washing dishes while you cook. Unless whatever you're cooking needs 20 minutes to braise simmer, it's not worth washing a dish just to dry my hands to deal with food, then go back to washing. I'll just do all of the dishes after dinner. I'm not in a restaurant where I'll need a pan or utensil right away for another food. Story 55. My so always tried to do that garbage bag thing that professional kitchens do where they turn it inside out and whip it over the container. It always looks wrinkly and unkempt compared to just putting it in the regular way, and they always have to take a few extra seconds to tidy it up after. Story 56. Going to Costco and buying up cart full of stuff. Unless you have a family of 5 or your own business, it's too expensive. Story 57. Making your own kombucha. Don't buy it at the store, it's so easy to make. Then they proceed to explain a process of taking a bucket of some mixture in and out of complete darkness over the course of several weeks. Story 58. The organizing hack of putting everything into containers instead of leaving in the store packaging. Story 59. All the financial subs that push utilizing like 12 different types of accounts and rollovers and trickling and all this shoot so you can maximize tax benefits and save a few bucks. Like, yeah, I get it, but I don't really feel like keeping track of a 401k, Roth 401k, HSA, Roth IRA, 529, brokerage, HYSA, CD ladders, and 42069 IRA all at the same time. I just do 401k for the match. The rest goes brokerage. Keep a little in savings. Done. Answer. My dad has a drawer full of always paid off credit cards that he very carefully uses just the right amount on just the right things and never cancels them because that's bad for your credit. I'm quite sure he earns useful rewards and cashback, etc. And it does make a positive financial difference. But if I had to consult a list of cards every time I made a purchase, I'd go out of my mind. And I'd definitely screw up often enough to nullify the savings. Story 60. IoT at home, and smartwatches that track steps, water consumption, etc. I like practicing mindfulness, and I like my analog life. Story 61. Decantering is usually terrible. Looks pretty on social media, but most people I know who put everything into a new container right after the store, usually 1, seem a lot more stressed about shopping. 2, often over or undereat because they don't read the serving sizes as they threw the nutrition facts out. They also have harder time cooking for people with allergies because you will ask them if something has peanuts or milk, may have had contact with at the facility, and they will be like, I don't know. Story 62. Peeling bananas from the tip instead of the stem. It's not easier. The stem is literally a built-in lever, LOL. Story 63. Backing into parking spots. It's much slower than just pulling into a spot and backing out when you leave. Also, backing into spots inordinately holds up people behind you in garages. Story 64. So many people nowadays swearing that forcing themselves to drink ridiculous amounts of water every day will make their health better. Unless you have an underlying medical condition, your body will let you know when it needs water. And if you drink when you're thirsty, you won't become dehydrated outside of extreme circumstances. Like, all you're likely doing is dramatically increasing the frequency at which you need to use the bathroom. Story 65. Any of those 5-minute crafts or easy 3-ingredient recipe, because they always require so much more time and literally make everything so much more complicated. Story 66. Making your own stuff. Unless it's a hobby, you're wasting so much time making it that the cost is way higher versus simply buying it. There is a reason economies of scale are impossible to compete with. Unless you've got it as a hobby and just are interested in the thing for the sake of it and enjoy doing it, you tend to just be taking the most important thing you have, time, and using to save you barely any money. Time is always more valuable than money. Money can save you time, but if you are dedicating your time to saving money, you've got the formula backwards, and you're just going to have less time to enjoy your life overall. Sadly, I also include cooking at home for yourself here. People say it's a great thing, but if I can basically get someone in 15 minutes, that would have taken more an hour or more. That's a lot of net, effective added time in my life that I can use to grow in other ways. I love cooking for a potluck because of the happiness multiplier of making something delicious for more than yourself. But just for me? Nah. And you end up enjoying food less because you tend to make more than you need and keep eating the same thing over and over at a time. The cost to maintain a stocked kitchen, the rising cost of grocery prices versus buying a prepared meal, just keeps getting smaller. Restaurants perfectly set themselves up to produce food for cheaper than you can alone. It takes them less time and less resources to produce the same meal. Imagine all the time saved that could have gone to learning to paint or bring joy to your life. If you can get joy from these acts, sure. But I don't personally get joy for cooking for myself unless I'm making something niche I can't get locally. Story 67. I looked into making my own butter, as it was being made out to be a cheaper alternative. Cheaper, it is not. Selling clothes secondhand. People don't factor in the time photographing, editing, ironing, dealing with prospective buyers and idiots, packing, posting, protecting yourself from scams, dealing with false returns if you get unlucky. I have largely given up on selling unless I know the item is going to fetch me 50%. The last time I did it seriously, I was living in poverty and needed to find money to eat. Now I can afford not to. I just donate. The time saved means more to me. Story 68. The whole rave damsey thing of getting a one-beater car and delivering pizzas as your second job. Firstly, that car is a piece of shoot and a liability. It will have terrible emissions, bits falling off, high insurance, poor fuel economy, probably gets stolen because it's easy to do so, etc. It will leave you stranded with huge bills and you'll get fired from the pizza place. Secondly, that extra work is going to create a tax issue alongside likely causing you to burn out and develop some kind of health issue. And in the US, that can be hugely expensive. Don't get a second job. Try to get a better paid first job. Story 69. Brushing teeth in the shower to save time. If you want to be in running water while brushing teeth, that's fine, but it definitely doesn't save time. Unless you have a shampoo conditioner you leave in your hair for 3 minutes and use every day. Story 70. Backing into parking spots. It drives me nuts. I swear it takes people longer to line themselves up and back into the spot than if they just pulled in normal and backed out when it's time to leave. Edit. This is a hot take, I suppose. Story 71. Open relationship throuple etc. Sorry your relationship is not working. Either commit to fix it for real or move on. Story 72. Instead of having one big task, break it into several smaller tasks. Now I have 8 tasks instead of 1. How's that going to motivate me? Story 73. Life hacks in general. There's really no such thing. One that does keep popping up and raises my eyebrows is when people keep advocating breaking up the weekly shop over the week. Basically, go to the shop every day. That way you can walk to and from the shops. Story 74. Make X for just a few dollars. Yes, they might be able to make a thing for next to nothing, but they have already spent tens of thousands of dollars on tools and workspace already. Story 75. Get a decent job that you don't absolutely dislike and go to work every day. I can't imagine chasing money on YouTube, TikTok, etc. That seems exhausting to me. Also, don't be afraid to ask for an occasional raise if you do a good job and are dependable. And no, this isn't a get-rich scheme. You won't be able to buy a new car every year and a new house every 2, but that's reality. And at some point, you either live in reality or you just move on to the next life. And quit fudge shooting people, you twats. Story 76. Person at my job showed me how to use HIPAA-compliant AI to write my notes. The amount of time they spent setting it up, dictating, and editing meant I could write 2 to 3 notes on my own. How is that better? Story 77. Roommates to save money. Just know, do stick to living with people you know well and avoid roommate situations if you value your sanity, stuff, or any aspect of your life. Save yourself from needing a lifetime of therapy, among any other imaginable damages that will linger for quite some time. Story 78. Instapot. Everyone swears you can make something in 3 minutes, but they don't count the 30 minutes heating up and 30 minutes cooling off. Faster to just cook. Answer. It depends on your situation. I adore my Instant Pot and use it heavily on the weekends as I meal prep. Beans, soups, yogurt, but I also have things sauteing on the stovetop and veggies roasting in the oven. I like that I can set it and forget about it. It'll be fine, and I can focus my attention elsewhere. I don't use a rice cooker. I see no need for that. Maybe it's because I have always cooked it on the stovetop. Story 79. Skipping buying coffee or avocado toast when the real money culprits are $3,000 monthly rent, $1,000 a month car loan, insurance and fuel, $500 a month health insurance. Story 80. Here's the best way to fold a fitted sheet. Why? I use one fitted sheet. Every week I take the sheet off to wash it, and during that time I simply deal with my bed being unmade for a couple of hours. I haven't folded a fitted sheet in like 10 years. Multiple beds, one fitted sheet per bed. You do not need 15 fitted sheets taking up space in your house. Exception: children. Kids wet the bed. In that case, fine. Ball up an extra twin-size fitted sheets in the linen closet, but you still don't need 15 of them. Story 81. Weight loss. It's never easy. It takes all your time and you have to revamp everything. I once went for 2 years without carbs. I lost maybe 10 pounds. I know it's harder to lose weight as we get older, but are you shoot me? Answer. Weight loss is incredibly easy in terms of time and effort. It's difficult to do it consistently. Track calories. Burn calories. Weigh in the morning. Losing weight requires about 5 to 10 extra minutes more a day to track and weigh myself, and a bit more in terms of thought and planning. But if you're struggling to lose weight, then you should probably educate yourself on your methods, or check in on the mental health standpoint with your relationship with food, because it's pretty simple to do right if you do a couple things very consistently and be patient. Story 82. The Dollar Tree. Most of that stuff is overpriced compared to normal quantities of the same thing from Walmart. Story 83. If you are a homeowner, do not mow your own lawn. In most every neighborhood, there's a company that cuts everyone's lawn and will do your lawn cheaply. Just do that. Having to plan mowing your lawn, buying and maintaining a lawnmower, mowing on a hot day, having to think about it on vacation, etc. Forget it. Just pay the man. Story 84. Stripping. Clothing in the bathtub. I am lucky I have enough time to wash, dry, fold, and put laundry away once a week. Who has time to soak everything in the darn bathtub? Story 85. Speaking without a filter and making hurtful comments under the excuse of, I just say things as they are, is the life trick of people who lack empathy. Story 86. Cheating on tests, plagiarizing, or using AI and fixing it up actually takes longer than just legitimately doing the assignment. Story 87. Calorie counting. If you eat clean-ish, move your body, and stop listening to all kinds of obsessiveness about food, you will be healthy and happy. You know what to do. Story 88. Bundle packages for anything is usually a scam and inconvenient. It doesn't even save that much money, specifically with travel and insurance. Story 89. Just run the dishwasher again if you're too tired to put the dishes away. No! That's how you get food cemented to your dishes. Story 90. Apple shortcuts. Been messing with them. And you can do everything pretty much just as easy through the menu. Story 91. Opening bananas from the other end. It's so easy to just try both ways, and that makes it clear that the normal stem end is the best end to open bananas from. But people insist on telling each other the opposite because of a made-up factoid about how monkeys do it. Story 92. Duct tape, JB Weld, bonds, superglue, zip tie, pin, etc. If it is a temporary fix, don't keep doing it forever. That's how shoot gets worse and more expensive. Story 93. Mise en place. It's literally more work and dirty dishes. I understand that it helps people with executive function issues or when you have more than one person's work and the cook's time is more impacted than others helping out, but otherwise, a waste. Story 94. I always think anything like those clean dirty magnets for your dishwasher. Maybe they help some people, but in my opinion, they just shift the mental load from remembering if the dishwasher is clean to remembering to flip the clean dirty magnet. If the rest of the world is anything like me, they probably forget to flip the magnet, then have to check the dishwasher anyway every time they go to load the dishwasher. Story 95. Anything that requires a tool or device the average person wouldn't have. Making your own dried fruit is simple, saves money and space in your refrigerator. All you need is an industrial dehydrator. Story 96. Almost anything people call a life hack these days is either something people have been doing forever already or is just really dumb. Story 97. Putting lemon in your armpits. I was developing body odor as I was getting closer to puberty, and my mom didn't allow deodorants for a kid my age, so she would tell us to rub a lemon over it. Awful. It just made me itchy. Just give me a darn deodorant. Story 98. Biking, walking, and scooting everywhere. It's tiring AF and requires a lot of stamina, but my God, do I feel in shape. Story 99. Taking one cheap object and tuning it into another cheap object. Using ramen noodles to replace materials like spackle. Using toothpaste to clean, polish, or remove stains from anything. Story 100. Saving vegetable peels, skins to make stock, since the stock that always comes out of those tastes bad. Story 101. All of these stupid organization containers in my kitchen that not only didn't help me organize my drawers or cupboards, but now my poor Tupperware cabinet is bursting at the seams with nonsense. Story 102. People using the 10C containers for change method to make money. Sure, it's a great way for people to help with recycling, but the ROI for the effort is really not great. To buy 500 cans bottles at around 5 each average $2,500. Exchanging 500 cans bottles for 10 cents each, 50, 500, 25, 100x 102, ROI. Then, to add the storing of cans bottles and driving to the exchange center. Better off throwing in recycling instead and work an extra hour at your job every week. You'd make more money anyway. Story 103. SP 500 Index. As far as an investment engine, it's great. But as far as what investment is, it's terrible for the world. We have more companies that fudge their financial value and returns now than ever. It's incredibly difficult to measure the value retained or returned because of the Silicon Valley startup model. SP is usually above those companies and does something interesting. It stabilizes on long-term consistent ROI and props up industries in terms of their credibility via the volume invested and the potential to leverage that capital. That center around the following: consumer finance, bilking Americans of savings, weapons industries and defense, eliminate people, selling passing to other countries, and overinvestment in unneeded weapons tech that has little oversight or accountability. Pharma, some good, some bad, mostly stuff that has some good value for some patients, but gets marketed to all patients. Technology, selling your behavior to third parties, on top of traditional government surveillance, and in general just large, unaccountable companies, corps that to some or all of the following: lobby heavily to evade oversight, use shell corps and legal FU to evade taxes, egregious and restrictive licenses and terms for their customers, partners, and employees that prevent redress, predatory practices against employees on market contingencies that give employees little control to begin with, or force arbitration to resolve anything at all the corporations want to get away with. Story 104. For ADHD, it seems like starting small is the way to go. Can't focus for the life of you? I have problems with that, so I literally started using 2 apps to start helping me. Starting with this, I branched out. I'm studying more consistently with consistent hours poured in, but I feel like I need a few more wins before I feel comfortable with where I am with myself. Story 105. Any life hack that is elaborate and takes more than 20 minutes to do is overrated. You could just work a bit extra and get more salary. Story 106. This'll get buried. Petrol cars that turn off the engine instead of idling, then turn on again when you hit the accelerator. You're actually using more fuel to restart the engine than you are while idling, and those cars are modern enough that they have low emissions. Story 107. Try that one that says, putting tea bags on your eyes depuffs them, when I was about 13. However, they did not specify black tea, so my dumbass uses an apple cinnamon tea. Cinnamon is a minor irritant, so I had red tea bag-shaped rectangles around my eyes for a few hours. Answer: similar. I had a cold sore on my lip and read that tea bags would help it go away. So I put some moist black tea bags on my lip for like an hour. They stained the cold sore a very dark brown color. I am so pale, I'm almost translucent. It was not good, and I couldn't leave the house for a while until it all washed off, which took many painful washings. Story 108. My friend tried that thing going around on Facebook about microwaving your phone if you get water in it. I couldn't stop laughing long enough to be of any help to her. Story 109. Not so much a life hack as a really shoot-home remedy, but about 15 years ago, I had gallstones really bad. I found some home remedy that said drinking a whole cup of olive oil straight up would grease them enough to make them pass right through with a little pop. I tried it, wishing for anything to ease the pain. 30 seconds later, I puked to the point of dry heaving. Now I had gallstone pain and sore ribs, abs, and lower back, and my mouth tasted like I just puked a bucket of piss. I just went and laid down and cried. Edit. The sad irony is it wasn't even gallstones that was causing the pain after all that ordeal. I later found out that it was an ulcer. I had that H. pylori shoot in my stomach really bad and was eventually hospitalized when the wall of my stomach ripped right open, getting out of bed one day. On the plus side, the trip to the hospital revealed the true cause of the pain, and within a day or so it was all fixed up. Answer: it's funny because if you have gallstones, you are supposed to avoid eating fats and oils. The reason is that the gallbladder contains bile, which is used to digest fat. So when your gut detects fat oil from food, it triggers the gallbladder to contract and release bile into the gut. So if you have gallstones and or an inflamed gallbladder, that contraction hurts like hell. Story 110. A cousin of mine nearly burnt his hand off and house down following some YouTube video to take a battery apart to get little batteries from inside. Story 111. Broke a light bulb in the socket, did a quick Google search. Eventually, I found someone that removed it using a potato cut in half. I basically ended up with grated potato everywhere. Story 112. Pinterest will tell you to chuck your toilet brush up into a drill motor and give her hell. Admittedly, I've never tried this because I have zero interest in creating a shoot tornado in my bathroom, but it's about the worst idea I've heard in a while. Story 113. Putting chapstick on your eyelids makes you high. I couldn't find chapstick, so I went to the next best thing. Tiger Balm. Extra strength pain-relieving ointment. My God, was I in pain. Never doing that again. Story 114. As a teenager, I read that olive oil is good for dry scalp. I put a ton of low-quality, i.e. smelly, olive oil in my hair. The smell didn't wash out for weeks. Answer: I've never used olive oil but have used coconut oil. It works great as a monthly deep conditioner, but you need way less than you think you do. I use about 1-2 TBSP of coconut oil and let it sit 30 minutes, then wash as normal. My hair is long and super curly, so the amount you need may be different. Start with a little and work it through adding more until your hair is just greasy looking, like you haven't washed it in a few days. Story 115. When I was young, I thought that the quickest way to cool down a hot oiled pan was to douse it with water. Never again. Answer: way back when I worked in a snack shack, at close I had to empty and clean out the deep fryer, which was always slow to cool down. Genius that I am, I dumped a whole bucket of ice cubes to speed up the process. The grease started bubbling immediately. Then the deep fryer exploded as piping hot grease shot straight up to the ceiling and spilled out all over the shack. The eruption continued for several minutes, eventually coating the entire counter, floor, and almost every other surface. I was lucky to escape with only minor burns to my arms and legs. My supervisor returned to the shack just moments after the explosion began to subside. He asked what happened, and I played dumb. So he shrugged his shoulders and said, "Clean it up," as he left for the night. I commenced to squeegee all that grease into buckets and deposit it into the grease dumpster. Took me hours. I reeked like French fries for about a week afterward. 1010 would deep geyser again. Story 116. I tried the life hack where you turn your toaster sideways to easily make grilled cheese. Yeah, a small fire happened, and now the toaster has lived in my garden for about a year now. Story 117. I remember reading on a thread that a teenage dude thought that spray-on bandage would be a good alternative when he didn't have condoms. Story 118. I once saw a beauty hack that said you should hold your eyelash curler under the blow dryer for 10 seconds so your lashes curl more. I burned my eyelashes off. That was 7 years ago, and I swear they've only just recently grown back completely. Story 119. My friend read somewhere that if you rubbed your own ball sweat on you, girls would be subconsciously attracted to you because of pheromones. I was intrigued but skeptical, so I decided to see how it worked for him. He did not get laid that day, but did achieve smelling like ball sweat all day at school. I never gave it a go. Answer. My ex heard that there was pheromones in piss that would attract females. He decided that more was better. He collected his piss for a few weeks and then decided to boil it down to a concentrate that he could use to pick up chicks. His parents weren't home, so he got boiling. He boiled piss all day. He didn't open any windows or turn on any fans. I'm not really sure how, but the entire inside of the house was covered in stinky piss steam. Almost totaled off the house, according to his dad. They had to redo the walls and the flooring. Story 120. Once tried to use butter as tanning lotion, melted a stick in a coffee mug, and had a buddy of mine rub me down. I read it online while sitting by the pool. It didn't work at all. Story 121. I tried that life hack where you use a lighter to pop dents out of ping pong balls. Well, it ended up catching on fire, and I burnt a hole in my MIL's carpet. Story 122. I tried to make my own fleshlight when I was younger by using body wash and a pillow folded up. The body wash had tons of those mini hard cleaning beads. Never again. Resulted in pain, a messy pillow, and had to shower again in my shame. I also cut a hole in a watermelon to have intimacy with it. It was cold and unpleasant. Had to throw the whole thing out. My father later asked me what happened to the watermelon. I didn't respond. Answer. Mini hard cleaning beads. They say it's called exfoliating. It just means that shoot has rocks in it. Source. Once exfoliated my male body part. 310 would not recommend. Also, there was a post not too long ago about using a cup, some sponges rubber banded together, and a rubber glove. A kid was wondering why his glasses kept going missing, and then found one in his roommate's room. The roommate actually showed up in the thread later and was like, "Meh, what are you gonna do? I'm a cup fudge. AMA." Story 123. I remember a long while back, someone on Reddit suggested wiping your jerk standing up as a life hack. There were a number of people who chimed in and said this was the way they've always done it, and both sides were amazed that the other existed. But it seemed like everyone who tried it standing up for the first time thought it was awful, and usually got shoot on their balls. Answer. I've never understood this. Sitting spreads my cheeks perfectly, giving me the maximum amount of surface area contact, with minimal chance of contaminating other areas. If I tried to wipe standing up, I'd just be smearing shoot around between my cheeks. Also, you back to front wipers are certifiably insane. Front to back is where it's at, to avoid the testicle scat. My shoot belongs on two things, my jerk and my toilet paper. Sitting and wiping front to back is what helps me achieve perfect results. Story 124. 3 words. Home bikini epilator. Using this tool correctly is actually just as awful as mishandling it. The DIY aspect does not improve anything. Story 125. The whole if you want someone, date someone else to make them jealous. Yes, it worked. No, it was not great. It ended in ruin, and I'll never think that way again. Story 126. When I was a teenager, I got impetigo. My mom read on some message board that you could get rid of it by scrubbing your face using vinegar. I tried to argue against it, but she wouldn't listen and insisted on scrubbing the scabs away with this really rough flannel soaked in vinegar. The burning was like nothing I have experienced. Imagine somebody rubbing vinegar into an open wound. I went to the doctors the next day and she proudly told them that she had tried the vinegar thing, and they looked at her with a look of horror and were like, "Yeah, that's not something we would advise." Story 127. If you use peanut butter to get gum out of a kid's hair, now you have to find something that will remove the peanut butter, or they will smell like a PBJ for a week. Story 128. There's one that comes up on Pinterest a bunch. It suggests using sticky hooks in the inside of a cabinet to hold up lids to your pans. Mother fudge glue came unstuck, and the lid fell on my GD toe. Broke the fudge too. Story 129. Heard via radio show that you can use bleach when you hand wash dishes to make them cleaner. Read the back of my dish soap. Didn't see any warnings, so I dumped a cap full of bleach in my soapy dishwater. The smell was awful, and I started getting lightheaded. Unplugged the sink, vented the apartment, and went outside for a while. Found out later that I had made chlorine gas. Looked up what went wrong. Turns out there's a big difference between adding bleach to dishwater and rinsing dishes with bleach water. Story 130. I wanted lighter hair for summer and used lemons for it when I was 13, about 7 years ago. Bad move. Hair was dry. Staying on the hair theme, I put banana in my hair because 17 magazine said it would leave it soft and silky when I was 15. Well, guess franking what? It was impossible to wash out, and I had to pick banana clumps out of my quacking hair for flippin' 3 weeks. I had rotten banana in my hair. Lesson of this girl's lifetime. Don't listen to 17 magazine's life hacks. Bunch of teddy pickers. Story 131. Opening a bottle of wine with a screwdriver when I didn't have a corkscrew. Shattered the neck of the bottle. Sliced open my hand and needed stitches. And I'll take dumbass tipsy decisions for 800. Alex. Story 132. A light bulb broke in my ceiling light, and I read, you can get one out by sticking in a carrot and unscrewing what was left of the bulb. It got lodged into the bottom half of the shattered light bulb, and I had to call the super to get the carrot bulb out of the ceiling. I was worried we'd lose our deposit. Story 133. I followed the advice of a Russian life hacker YouTube video to make an air conditioner with dry ice and fans. I didn't realize that this creates carbon dioxide, which is highly poisonous. It was so hot out, I wanted the air conditioner to keep my dog cool while I was out of the house. I never got another dog after him. He died because I was a gullible idiot, and if he hadn't have died, then I probably would have by using it. The only comfort is that it was painless. You really can't trust stuff you just find on the internet. Edit. I didn't mean to say highly poisonous, but yeah, that stuff does eliminate you in high enough concentrations. Story 134. Not a life hack, but those YouTube videos where you can light your hand on fire with hand sanitizer. Story 135. I used Chipotle hacks to get more burrito for my buck. The extra food isn't worth the weight gain and health problems that resulted. Story 136. Iodine and baby oil hair removal. It is supposed to be like Nair. Didn't remove a single hair and stain my legs yellow. Story 137. I once saw one that suggested, instead of buying expensive binoculars, just stand closer to what you wish to view. You know, stand closer to those birds. Climb right on down onto the field at a baseball game. Leap off the top of the Grand Canyon. What could go wrong? Story 138. When I was around 15, I wanted to get high. Because in high school it's cool, so with no way of getting plant substance, I decided to try oregano like a lot of people say. But I didn't want to smoke it because I would smell like oregano forever, so I decided to drink it. Water. Didn't drink the taste down. So I tried Coke, then milk. For some reason I thought that was a good idea. I proceeded to vomit for 3 hours straight. Didn't get high. Mom thought I was dying. Lesson learned. Story 139. There is this life hack video on YouTube, and it all seems all right, and the last fudge one was to take apart a 4-plug, do some shoot to the copper cables inside, and attach them to razor. You then put the razors in your cup of water, and you plug it in after to boil your water. What the actual fudge do they not realize little children watch these? Edit. Found the video, but not the English version. Story 140. Putting any of the following on my face as skin care from bullshit YouTubers who don't know shoot, but peddle to young impressionable girls. I was 13. Lemon juice, cinnamon, and baking soda. Story 141. I tried a life hack that said to put your toaster on its side to make cheese on toast easily. I literally set part of my kitchen on fire. My mom had to replace the work surfaces because I burnt a hole in it. Fudge BuzzFeed. Story 142. Heard that turmeric was good for the skin, so I made a homemade face mask with turmeric and yogurt. My face was yellow-orange for some hours, which I spent trying to clean it off. Story 143. I like those videos of people throwing boiling water onto their windshield in the winter and watching it shatter. Story 144. I tried sticking ice cubes in the brand new dryer because I heard it helped de-wrinkle. Didn't even get to see if it worked before my dad lost his shoot when he found out why the dryer was making that noise. Story 145. The shake the water off your hands thing so you can dry them with only one paper towel. Flung my wedding band down the drain on my first day of work. Luckily, I got it back thanks to a speedy plumber. Story 146. I tried to clean the blender after making a smoothie, so I put some boiling water and washing up liquid in it. I put the lid on, pressed the on button, and the lid shot off. I got a face full of boiling water and went blind for a few minutes. Completely recovered now, but I haven't made a smoothie since. Story 147. Cleaned my windows with Coke. They sure got clean, but woke up to a massive invasion of flies the next morning. Story 148. I say the fudge wet wipes toilet paper hack that Reddit loves to jerk over. Real life pro tip. If the packaging says some shoot like safe to flush up to 4 at a time or something, they're not fudge safe to flush. Go live in an old apartment where some neighbor of yours clogged the plumbing system and you had actual chute backing up out of multiple units in the complex. Then come tell me how awesome of a hack it is. Story 149. Don't know if it's a life hack, but I took Icy Hot and put it all over my sinuses, nose and eyelids to open up my nose during the flu. The burning. Oh God, the exquisite pain. Story 150. I didn't do it, but I was looking up ways to stop sweating on my upper lip when I have makeup on. This moron suggested that you put salt and ice on the sweaty area to stop it. I'll just stick with sweaty upper lip. Story 151. Not me, but I was able to convince a friend's little brother that he could charge his cell phone in the microwave. Answer. Not a life hack, but in freshman year of high school, I once convinced a girl that potatoes were cow eggs, right in front of all her friends, and none of them told her otherwise. I thought she didn't actually believe me, until a couple weeks later she walked up and punched me because she recounted her knowledge in biology class. She was a freshman in high school also. Story 152. Never tried this one out myself, but this post from 4chan actually creates fudge mustard gas and IIRC. A few people had to go to the hospital. Edit. Bonus hack. The exploding spoon. Story 153. Boiling milk in a kettle. A group of us were on holiday in a rented house and I did this for some hot chocolate. Everything seemed all right. It was good hot chocolate. Then the pungent smell hit the kitchen the next day. We didn't realize what had gone wrong at first. When we did, my arse was the butt of the joke for 6 months straight. Story 154. Have you heard of the one about putting cheese on a piece of bread, then turning your toaster sideways? That lit my toaster on fire. I had scorch marks on the bottom of my kitchen cabinet, and no one noticed. Made okay grilled cheese with minimal effort, though. Story 155. The neighbor kid drowned because after his dad accidentally dropped his fishing pole in the pond. In order to recover the pole, he let his dad weigh him down with cement bricks and stick a garden hose in his mouth to breathe through while he sunk down to get the pole. He was 15. Edit. I get it that I wrote it sounding like it was recently, but it wasn't. It happened before I was born. It absolutely happened. Ernie and Lola Sims were the kids' grandparents. As my grandmother just told me that it wasn't their son, it was their grandson. They are dead now, but they have tons of relatives that still live around here. It wasn't so long ago that there's speculation about it. Everyone knows it happened. Story 156. Life hack. Don't wait for the ER to reset a dislocated joint. The swelling will make it more painful and cause more damage. So 12-year-old me decided to reset my dislocated finger myself. Story 157. I tried the drinking diluted vinegar will help you lose weight. Ugh. Even diluted, the vinegar water was so acidic and awful, I had heartburn for a few days afterward. A few years later, I saw this natural remedies list on my MIL's bulletin board. A cure for heartburn was drinking diluted vinegar. I laughed so hard at that. Story 158. Time's running out. Need to do these dishes, dress, and leave the house in 5 minutes. See the blender sitting there, all nasty with crap. Remember the life hack about the soap and water blending technique? Fill it up, put it on there. Didn't know you had to hold it down. And the soap and water went everywhere. On the table, on the food, in the toaster, everywhere. Story 159. While attempting basketball at my cousin's, he headbutted me by accident, which resulted in my left eyebrow being split open. It was pretty bad. His mother insisted on pouring salt on my eyebrow to clot the wound. My uncle took me to the ER, which resulted in a dumbfound look once I explained the salt. Story 160. It's too stupid to explain. TSDK. Never replace going to the doctors with a penknife, duct tape, and vinegar, kids, or you'll have a permanent scar. Story 161. Had a sore throat and coughing up tons of phlegm. Was told by the internet that gargling and swallowing some habanero juice could get rid of sore throats. I was 22 and had nothing to lose. So I went to the store, pressed the juice out of some habaneros once I got home with them, and gargled them. Swallowed a tiny bit of some of the juice, and waited. It really loosened up all of the phlegm. I started coughing it back up really well, and started blowing my nose. Ow! The habanero spice attached itself to most of the phlegm, and was now burning my nostrils and everything involved with it. It didn't even work, because most of the phlegm returned and my throat was now in spicy pain. Story 162. My home ec teacher in middle school claimed that lactose-intolerant people will eat their cereal with orange juice. We ran out of milk a few days later and, well, 10 tasted better on the way back up. Not sure if I was already sick, but I started retching immediately. Story 163. I saw a life hack for easy grilled cheese and decided to try it, then put a fried egg on top for breakfast. The hack consisted of putting a toaster on its side, then putting an English muffin with a slice of cheese into it and cooking it as normal in the toaster, with the exception of the toaster being on its side, of course. Well, it was 5 a.m. and I was getting ready for school. Suddenly I smell burning. As I'm cooking my egg, I turn around and the toaster is engulfed in flames that were spreading to the kitchen counter. Not wanting to pour water on it for fear of starting an even worse electrical fire, I ran screaming into my parents' room and woke my dad up yelling, "The toaster is on fire! Help!" Dad was not pleased, and I had to go through the embarrassing reason as to why I had put the toaster on its side. Story 164. My wife rubbed my back door a bit during intimacy. It didn't do much for me, but I let it go. My butthole has been sore for 3 days. Story 165. I heard that toothpaste was great for removing pimples, so I left a dab of toothpaste on my face overnight. Woke up with a second-degree chemical burn on my cheek. Luckily, it healed without leaving terrible scarring, only some slight discoloration. That's it for this video. Don't forget to support Vancher and my second channel, Vanchus. See you soon.